Hello, and welcome to the Guilbault Girls Show, where you will have the opportunity to hear from mothers, fathers, siblings, and individuals themselves about their journey of living with a disability. I know, it's called Guilbault Girls, but we have a bonus for you as we get the Guilbault boys to interview some of the dads and siblings and get their perspectives too. We'll also have special guests from time to time to share the many resources that are available to those living with a disability and their families. So get ready to laugh, smile, cry, maybe even get a little angry when you hear some of these stories of their day-to-day struggles. But let's not forget their many triumphs. As they say, it takes a village. And if it weren't for our village, we wouldn't be where we are today. So join us. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Guilbault Girls. Today's guest is 20-year-old BJ Yoho from Bloomfield, Indiana. BJ was born with spina bifida. He's endured 17 surgeries, and he uses a wheelchair. BJ has been a patient at Riley's Hospital for Children since 2002. He decided he wanted to give back. So what better way to do that than by hosting his own toy drive for 10 years to give back to the charity? How awesome is that? For 6 years, BJ worked at the Bloomfield Family Life Center up until COVID hit. And right now he's focusing on being a full-time college student at Ivy Tech with hopes to earn a degree in film. The most important things to him are his faith in God and his close relationship with his family. So thank you, BJ, so much for being on the show today. I'm so excited to have you on. How you been doing?
I've been doing pretty good. Thank you for having me on today.
You're welcome. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey of living with a disability and how it affects you?
So, pretty much before I was born, the doctors had told my family that I was most likely going to have a disability like spina bifida and stuff like that. But I don't really think they understood the full level of disability I would have till after I was born. And when I was born, pretty much every doctor I had didn't expect me to live for past 24 hours after I was born. That's how bad and serious it was. So the doctors, they tried to make it really clear. I have one of the worst cases of spina bifida recorded in the country right now. Technically, when I was born, it looked like when we put two softballs together. That's what my spine looked like. And my spine is completely twisted up. And if it were straight, I technically have half a spine. But it don't look like that because it's all twisted up. So it looks like it's a full spine. But if you were to straighten it up, it's not even close to a full spine.
Oh my goodness. And you've endured 17 surgeries. That's a lot. How old were you for your first one? Were you an infant or?
I was about 24 hours old.
Wow.
Because I had a sack of fluid that grew on my spine, and they had to get that off.
Okay. All right. And what types of surgeries, being you've had so many, have you had? And most importantly, how did you get through those tough times during recovery? Because, especially when obviously when you're an infant, you can't remember or don't really know, but as you got older and you're aware and you had to go through all this, what helped you through, what surgeries have you had to endure?
So when I was about a year old, that's when I had my amputation where they took off my right leg. When I was born, it was the size of my pinky finger. That's how big it was. And here's the crazy part. My left leg, which I still have, when I was born, it was turned 180 degrees. So first they had to go fix that and make it to where it was supposed to how a leg was supposed to be. But they couldn't save the right leg because it just wouldn't grow. And they knew if they kept it, it would have held me back a lot more than I already am. So they just went ahead and amputated it. So I actually technically went a year with two legs, but I wasn't using it anyway. So that happened. Then when I was born, not a lot of people know this. Well, a lot of people know this, but it just happened right before I started school. So not a lot of my friends might know this. my right ear was born folded in, so it looked like you know that old cartoon Bob the Builder
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
how they designed his ears. That's how my ear looked.
Get out.
Yeah, it was born like that. So what they did was, this is really cool. They took one of my ribs. They took out one of my ribs and put it right here, and that's what's holding it back.
Wow.
And my left ear, it was actually born completely ordinary, so there's nothing wrong with it. But my doctor, he went ahead and pinned it back a little bit to make it even with my right ear. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then this one was crazy. I can't really remember what it was, but I remember going through it. I had what was called a bowel blockage, and that was when my intestines wrapped around each other.
Okay.
And it's kind of a joke in our family. We say we never go out to eat on New Year's because we'd never done this before. And we finally decided that, okay, we're going to go out to eat for New Year's because we've never done it before. Okay, well, we went out somewhere nice. And right when we finally got our food, that's when my bowel blockage happened. And I mean, I started turning blue. I've never felt in so much pain in my life. I felt like there was like a hot knife inside my body, just tearing everything apart.
Oh my gosh.
So we went to my primary doctor thinking, okay, it's nothing wrong because like when I was little, I'd always get stomach cramps. And I actually had a surgery on that, but it didn't work. So my doctor said that's just going to be something I'm going to live with for the rest of my life. But so we thought, okay, it's just that, just amplified up. My doctor's like, no, you might want to get into a hospital because this ain't good. So we got to Riley Hospital, and that's when they figured out they had to go in and fix it. And it's kind of a funny story. The doctor who did my surgery, sorry if there's a bit of noise feedback. I think a storm's about to hit where I'm at.
You're fine.
So it's kind of a funny story. My doctor who did the surgery, he was explaining what he was going to do. And he goes, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut him open. I'm going to clip the intestines, fix them all. Then I'm going to have all my students stand over him to make sure he doesn't turn blue. And my mom's like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, I'm going to go eat lunch. And she goes, why? And he goes, because it takes about 30 minutes to understand if it works. And I have to do something in that 30 minutes. So yeah, he ate lunch while I had like 20 or 25 of his student residents standing over me, making sure I didn't die.
Oh my goodness.
I love the guy to death. I'll tell you that.
Wow. And how old were you during that one?
I can't remember. I don't know why, but I keep thinking I was around in second grade.
Okay.
Because my memory is a little foggy, especially when I was in elementary school.
Mhm.
So I keep thinking it's around second grade. I keep having different memories of like I missed like half that year, and that would explain exactly why I missed half that year.
Mhm.
And I remember I had a teacher. It wasn't necessarily homeschooling, but it was kind of homeschooling because they didn't want to.
They call
Yeah,
it hospital or something here.
yeah, they didn't want to hold me back for like another year, and because I was there for half the year, but then when the bowel blockage happened, I was out for the count for like pretty much the rest of the school year. But luckily, I wasn't held back. So
Yeah, yeah. And when was the last time you had a surgery?
about 5 years ago, I think.
Okay.
And it's a miracle because because before then I would never go like a year without a surgery.
And how did you get through? Like what, like obviously you're scared and, and you have the pain to deal with after and the recovery process. And was there anything that stands out to you that really got you through those hard moments?
Yeah, probably a few different things. My faith in God, that's definitely the biggest thing. There's actually a lot of things I wouldn't be able to have gone through without him and my faith in God and Jesus. I know I'll always stand up and for him and be his witness because he's helped me firsthand. And probably my family as well. They've helped me through it a lot. I've I've been through a lot with them and also my friends as well. I've grown really close with my friends, especially over the last couple of years. So definitely different things and different factors. like that have helped me through it.
How about your school years? How were your school years? Did you ever feel left out or?
Nope.
No.
I've actually never I felt really great because my friends and my teachers at school, because I went to Eastern Green, we had an elementary, a middle school, and a high school. So I was pretty much with the same group of people from preschool to senior year of high school.
Yeah, see, that makes
And
such a big difference when you're actually growing up with them.
mhm,
It's harder if you move midway, which that's what happened with her. We moved,
yeah,
when she was in seventh grade. So it's hard. She hasn't found her people or her,
mhm,
she doesn't have the friends like she had back there that she grew up that knew her from 3 years old and up.
yeah.
So that's good
But
to have that support system.
yeah. And they never really treated me differently at all. So they would always treat me like I wasn't in a wheelchair,
Mhm.
and like I didn't there was no difference between us. And so I always like to say when I'm being funny, they'll say I'm funny. If I'm being stupid, they'll say I'm stupid. But I really appreciated it because they didn't treat me like I was anything different from them. They always held me at the same standards as they would anybody else, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. All right, Faith, did you want to ask him the next question?
What would surprise people most about you?
What was that? I'm sorry.
What would surprise people most about you?
Hmm. Okay, that's hard because I have a lot of good positive attributes. uh, I don't know. Probably, probably I'm energetic because I'm by no means a laid back person. Uh, when you get me on a subject, I will not shut up, especially when it's something that I'm really passionate about. Like I'll give you an example. Anime. I'm a big anime fan. And have you heard of the anime Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah.
You can't get me to shut up about Dragon Ball Z. Once you get me started, I will never stop.
No end in sight, huh?
Yeah. And so that'll probably definitely surprise a lot of people. Another thing probably I like to write, so if you get me started on what I write, then you can't get me to shut up because I just go on and on and on
Same.
about that. So probably uh the biggest thing that'll surprise people, I'm really energetic and I'm happy for somebody who's in my condition. So
That's awesome. So that kind of leads into the next thing. We know that what are some of your hobbies or things you like to do for fun? So we know anime, we know writing. What about any sports? Have you ever done any adaptive sports? Do they have any of that around you?
no, I've actually never really been a big sports person.
Okay.
And that's funny because my family has lived in a basketball gym all their lives. My both my uncles were big basketball nuts. My mom, I can't remember what she said she did, but I think she did volleyball. I could be wrong about that, but she did something when she was in high school. My cousin right now does softball, and really about the only ones that have never done sports are me and my cousin, my other cousin. So uh, I'm kind of like I guess you could say I'm the oddball in my family because I'm never really a big sports person. My grandfather, when he was still alive, he would never watch football with me because I would always laugh at everybody because I thought it was so crazy how they would literally just risk their lives to catch a ball and throw it, and you had them running into each other and breaking every bone in their body, and I just sitting there and couldn't help myself. And my grandpa's like, I'm never watching sports with you ever again. And I'm like, why? But
Do they have any adaptive sporting near you?
I think IU does. If there is, then I've never heard of it. Mostly because, like I said, since I'm not really big on sports, I probably didn't go looking for it anyway. But I'm sure there's like stuff around here. It's just I just don't know about it.
About it, yeah, yeah. Let me see. What's your biggest fear? Do you have any fears? What's your biggest fear?
Oh, that's hard. I'm not afraid of a lot of stuff, and the things I am afraid of is kind of stupid. Uh, because like for example, when I was in well, when I was in grade school in general, I had like, I don't know why, I had a big fear of whenever they had fire drills. So I was like really big on that. Um, that was
That's a
that,
serious thing because especially, you're on the second floor, they put you in the stairwell and put a blanket over you like that, it's like her teachers always said, don't worry about it. I don't care. I'm just going to pick her up and bring her out.
I've actually never had that done.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, in a
I
real,
hate it.
yeah, in a real fire, like the fire, if they're on, they didn't put the blanket on, but during fire drills, they would just go to, to the stairwell. But yeah, if there was a real fire, that's where they tell you to go. It's
Yeah.
like crazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's my grandma in the back.
Hi, Grandma.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm watching out the windows.
I know. He said there's a storm
Windy
coming.
here.
He said there's a storm coming, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty windy. When was it, BJ? Last year? A tornado.
It was like 2 years ago. We had a tornado just plow through our yard and our house. And I kid you not, we live on a highway. So when you look across the street, there's like a forest. There's a few houses in a forest. It was like a completely wooded area. This tornado plowed straight through that.
Oh.
And you just had an open pathway where a bunch of trees used to be.
That's scary. I lived in Florida for 6 years, and I remember anytime they had a tornado watch or warning, even when we didn't, and the thunder and the lightning, I would be in the closet hiding. I'm scared.
With the cats.
Yes.
I wasn't even born yet.
Yes, I would grab my cats and go hide in my walk-in closet.
Yeah. It's funny though, because the tornado didn't necessarily scare me, but what really freaked me out about it, we have a dog who is outside. He's a basset hound, and he used to be an inside dog, but when he started shedding, my mom's allergies got really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And she's that kind of person. She's not deadly allergic to animals, but when it comes allergy season, it really hits her hard. Mm-hmm. So we like built him a little pen, and he's an outside dog. Mm-hmm. But probably the scariest thing about this tornado, when that tornado hit, my mom, because of course, my mom, being the crazy person she is, opened the door and watched the tornado just plow right through. And meanwhile, we're all sitting there, and she's just sitting there watching it. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm watching the tornado. This is crazy. And she watches this tornado just pick up his pen and throw it across the street where it was at. And my mom looked at that and she goes, oh my gosh, the dog is dead. And she closed the door for a minute and she looked out again, and there he was just sitting there. Like he was unharmed, unfazed, but he was pretty freaked out because his pen got picked up off of him. Yeah. And she yells for him to come inside. So we had him inside for a little bit. Then my dog would start crying at night because we had to hurry up and rebuild him a pen. And we were able to get him like resituated a couple days after. And every night he would howl to the moon, just full in tears. And so finally because when this tornado hit, a bunch of the houses had like somebody from insurance coming out to help out. And my grandma asked him, she goes, does your company and your funding offer therapy for dogs? And he goes, not that I know of. Why? And she goes, because I think that dog has got PTSD because every night he's howling to the moon.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
But he's pretty fine now, but the first couple of days, I think he got freaked out from that.
Wow, that's interesting. In school, did your school ever teach about disabilities and inclusion? Did you guys have any speakers come in, or was it part of curriculum or anything like that?
We had a few actually. Specifically in 8th grade. You might know her, Gina Mitchell. Mm-mm. Okay. Sorry, like she would have what's called a health fair. Okay. And she would have all her kids, they like draw like something out of a hat and then tell them what disability or stuff like that, what they would research on. Mm-hmm. And it hit home for her because her son, who's actually my friend growing up, he has autism. So that it really hit home for her, and she'd always go big on that. Like she would treat it like as like kind of like a science fair or like a carnival, because she'd have snacks and we'd like invite everybody in and just could talk about it. And like there was one, I remember they were talking about being colorblind, and they'd like give a test to everybody who was there, and that was just crazy. Just the different stuff that they would find.
Mhm.
Then specifically in that class too, she has a friend. I can't think of his name. He was blind, but he goes like canoeing and like hiking. He does all this crazy stuff, and so he came in. And what's funny is, he said, he goes, obviously, as you can see, I'm blind, so don't worry about raising your hand. Just blurt out your questions. And of course, my friend who I was telling you about, first thing he does is raise his hand,
And
and everybody looked at him, and I just start laughing. And of course, you have that guy just sitting there, and one guy yelled out, "He's blind. He said that." And he goes, "Oh," and he goes, "Yeah, I'm blind." Just shout it out.
Mhm.
I go to a school full of blind kids, so I've had my embarrassing moments.
Yep. Yeah, because she does, she still has sight, but she goes to the Maryland School for the Blind.
Hmm.
Let me see. What other questions did I have on there? What frustrates you the most?
What frustrates me? You mean like everyday life, or like?
Everyday life. So here, let me back up. What areas of your life and day-to-day activities do you need assistance with?
Uh, Probably. That's funny because especially now, I don't necessarily need a lot of assistance. The
Mhm,
only thing I can think of is I got my mom. She drives me to college back and forth
mhm.
because I technically have my license, but thanks to insurance and all the 20 to 30 different requirements that they got to have, I can't drive myself, even though I can legally drive myself. So that's kind of frustrating. I took all the tests. I've had my license for 2 years now. Actually, it might be going on 3. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of frustrating that I have my license. I can do it. They just won't let me.
We're able to do the hand. I think they put the hand controls on the steering wheel. And then another one of my friends too, they ended up doing it. But a lot of times I know different groups like the Elks lodges and the AMVETs and the VFWs, all of them, a lot of times
Even the
they'll,
moose lodges
yeah, the
too.
Moose Lodges, they'll do different fundraisers or have funding or grants to help individuals out for that kind of stuff, to access, to make the vehicles accessible
Hmm.
for you. But yeah, that does have to be frustrating for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't drive because I don't have enough sight to, but sometimes I feel bad that I kind of have that problem, but then sometimes I have to have a chauffeur, so I go back and forth.
To have a what?
A chauffeur.
Oh, a
Back
chauffeur.
and forth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I said, look, you're going to save money on gas, insurance, car payments, and you'll have your own chauffeur. I don't know. I'm trying to look at the positives. You'll save money.
Enough stuff in my life driving going on.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Get a chauffeur named Alfred,
Alfred.
and
Yeah,
then you can make a bunch of Batman jokes.
Like a Smurf.
like a Smurf.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about your job experiences? I know you worked for the Family Life Center for 6 years up until COVID hit. What were your job duties, and what challenges did you face on the job, if any?
So actually, the Family Life Center has been the only place that I've really worked with.
Mhm.
That was a nonprofit, so I called it a job, but I guess if we're talking technicality, I guess it doesn't really count as one, but because I was more of a volunteer than anything, because everybody that worked there were volunteers that
Mhm.
were part of it. And I've actually not had much, if any, job experience because, like with the car thing, insurance and federal aid, even though my mom, she's a stay-at-home mom, and my grandma, she's retired, we make little to nothing, and the insurance companies and federal aid, they won't let me get a job because even if I'm like work McDonald's, they'll look at me and say, "Oh, you're making too much money, so we're gonna cut all your aid." And so I'm literally not allowed by the government to get a job, which
Yeah.
I think that's pretty stupid.
Yeah, so she's going through that right now, and she just started getting Social Security, but they have
I do 2 different jobs at school, but I don't get paid.
right. So if she does get a job, you can't make over 2,000 a month, otherwise they'll knock you
Social
down.
Security for you.
Right, and then they do have, it's called work to oh my gosh, it's the workforce ticket or something with SSI. Because we're kind of getting into all of that too. So you do have to watch how much you make. So she's kind of like going through now with school, looking to what kind of jobs are going to be good for her. And
my goal is to be an author.
But yeah, she wants to be an author.
Cool.
But even just going out into the regular job, just thinking too, what kind of challenges, y'all would face when you are out there working.
But yeah, it sucks because you have all these like Social Security, federal aid, insurance. I actually wrote a paper about this recently in my college class. It was talking about like stigmas with disabilities, especially with the workforce and getting federal aid. I feel like they look at people with disabilities and they expect one thing, but there's like different types of disabilities. You got physical, mental disabilities, but they're only thinking of one specific thing. And I feel like that goes a lot into it.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, I agree. So how is college for you? Do you have any challenges navigating your way in the college setting, or even if it's like physical, like things not being accessible or?
Actually, no, it's actually really perfect.
That's awesome.
Because even with grade school, even though it was like really good, there was still like problems I had over the years. But so far, college has been like perfect. Of course, since I'm going to a community college, I feel like that's a lot different than a traditional 4-year school. That's why I'm kind of holding off going to IU for the foreseeable future, because like IU and their film school is like my end goal, but especially I feel like with Ivy Tech, it's a perfect balance between high school and college, even though it's a community college. So I feel like I'm trying to stick there as long as I can until like I've got all my credits done and I'm like, okay, I got to get to IU now. But it's actually been really perfect because the like disability aid, the workers behind like getting me what I need to live a somewhat ordinary college life, they've been like more than helpful actually.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you are going for film. What got you interested in filmmaking, and what types of films would you like to make in the future?
It's actually hard because I've always liked to write, especially when I was young, when like elementary school. My not so immediate family would always tease me because every time my mom would ask me what I wanted for Christmas, I would always answer pens and paper, because that's always what I wanted. And that's literally what my mom would tell everybody. They go, if you want to get him something for Christmas, get him a bunch of paper. And that's literally what I get. And I would be like so happy about that. Like that would be the biggest thing ever. And of course, when I discovered technology, that was like 10 times better because it was a lot easier to save stuff and not lose anything. So I was writing on that all the time. And so I was always like this big writer. Then of course my cousin, she likes to write too, so we would always collaborate. But then of course I've always been like a big movie buff, like being like in a wheelchair, not being able to like go out and do like sports and all that. That might have contributed why I'm not a big sports fan. So with that, I was always pretty much watching movies was like my biggest like thing to do at home. That was like my biggest hobby. And so I would always like be interested in how like films would work out. Then of course the writing into it. So I guess I'm not really for sure when exactly, but I guess it finally clicked to me, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'll just start making this stuff too. So that's been for all my life really. My family joked with me because I always like try to change my profession, like what I wanted to do. But I really think film is what I really want to do. I actually got to work on like a film too, like
Did
a couple
you?
years ago. Yeah. IUPUI. Have you heard of the dance marathon?
Mm-mm.
So it was kind of started by IU. Everybody else has kind of picked it up. It's like one huge fundraiser where they raise money for Riley Hospital, but they're dancing for so many hours. Now IU is the biggest one because they stay up 36 hours straight doing nothing but dancing. And like the students at IU, they're not allowed to sit down
Wow.
because that's like a big thing that's part of it.
Uh-huh.
And literally the only excuse that they can have for sitting down is using the bathroom. So they're like lines and lines to the restroom all the time. Like even when they don't have to use the restroom, they just go in there just to sit. And so IUPY was doing one, and I was invited because they were going to film a commercial with a film company in Bloomington. Their name is Blue Line,
Okay.
and they invited like a bunch of Riley kids. So I was one of the Riley kids that got invited, and I got talking. This guy, his name was Kevin, and he's like the big guy over Blue Line. And he was there filming with them, and me and him just got talking. I was telling him like my love for film, how I wanted to get into it. He was telling me how he got into film, and we filmed the commercial. We got into like a huge conversation, and that was that for like 2 weeks. Next thing I know, like in 2 weeks later, Kevin himself actually called me, and he said that IUPY invited them back to pretty much film all of the dance marathon to help put together like a short film
Mm-hmm.
to help advertise the dance marathon. And I guess Kevin, like they thought of me and wanted me to help them with it. So I actually got to help them out with that film.
That's awesome.
That was pretty cool. But I think if I had like skin the whole side, my pots would take.
Oh, she has POTS. It's called postural orthostatic tachycardia. So she gets dizzy when she stands, and her heart rate goes up. So we did an interview with this girl Karina out in California, and it's called JD's Creative Academy, and it's awesome because it's pretty much like a production agency, and they work with individuals with disabilities. So they go in and they do like internships, and it's really cool what they're doing there.
Cool.
They need more places like that. So we're actually going to interview them at some
also
point
might-
too. I know you have a strong faith in God. Do you want to share a little bit about your testimony?
Okay, yeah. As you can probably tell, I don't practice it a lot because I'm that kind of person. I like to wing what I say because if I spend too much time thinking about it, I lose focus. I forget what I'm saying, and I just go crazy. So, I'm pretty much just gonna wing this like I always do. I will literally say without any hesitation, I will say this in full confidence. I would not be who I am without Jesus, because there's like a verse in the Bible that really has actually really gotten me through with a lot of stuff, and it's actually I can't really quote it exactly off the top of my head, but it actually kind of taught me that because there's a lot of people with I've seen with disabilities out there that are always like, oh, woe is me, look at me, like they're miserable with their lives. And I read this verse in the Bible, and it pretty much spoke to me and said it's not about you. And it really helped me realize if I sit here thinking like feeling bad about myself all the time, I'm not going to get anything done because it's not about me. It's about Jesus. This is his whole world. This is his thing. We're just all living in it. So that actually helped me get through a lot of stuff. Thinking that helped me realize I'm down here. I'm like one of millions of people in this world. It ain't about me. So that's it. That verse specifically has really helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And once it's gonna bother me, so I'm probably gonna jump in the Bible and figure out which one it was, and I'll send it to you if you
Yeah.
want.
So in my emailed you and sent you a flyer, asking you what your word was, because words are very powerful and they remind us of, a lot of things. So is there a specific word that comes to you, and would you be willing to share that word and why you chose it?
Like a specific word?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It might take me a second to think.
You're good. So what I do, I gift all of my my guests with a token, and I hand stamp it with a hammer and a letter, your word, and then I put it on a keychain, a bracelet, a necklace. And it's pretty much, they can remind us of our importance or simply remind us to breathe and live in the moment. This world is inundated with craziness. So sometimes it's nice to just slow down and have that word. Yeah. Especially with So putting you on the spot, do you have a word that's gotten you through, or do you have a goal that you might have, or a challenge that you want to overcome, or just, a word that is special to you, that's meaningful, that you would like to look at every day?
Probably a breathe. I know that sounds a little weird, but the word breathe is my word, because going back with my faith in God, if I'd been stuck with being miserable, I just would have stopped and done nothing. But then you have Jesus saying, it's not about you. There's so much more than just sitting there feeling bad about yourself. So that helped me go further. And it also means a lot to me because I'm that kind of person. I'm not afraid to speak my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty open minded, but once I get started on like a debate or topic, I won't shut up. And so
I can remind you, take a minute, breathe, and get through
yes.
it.
and it also helps me. It reminds me I should keep going, because if I stop, then I'll fall behind. And if I don't stop walking this path of life, then it's all gonna catch up to me, and all this like darkness and bad stuff, it's gonna get its hold on me. So if I keep going and I keep living and keep doing my best, then I know it's all gonna be good. It's all gonna be all right. So as long as you don't stop, you can slow down to catch your breath, but as long as you don't stop, then it's all gonna be okay.
I love that. That's awesome.
I chose fearless because I have to be fearless with my disability sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you would give, someone out there that's just starting to go through, what you've been through?
Okay. So this might sound a little crazy, but my mom gave me this advice. And please forgive me if it like sounds a little harsh or crazy. But one of my friends, well, not one of my friends, he's actually one of my superiors. He came up to my mom and asked, he goes, "Why is he so chirpy and happy?" And my mom goes, "I gave him this advice. And so are you ready?" And like I said, I'm sorry if it sounds a little crazy. She goes, "I told him this." I go, "Life's a bitch. Move on."
Yep.
And that's actually really helpful. And I'll explain why that's helpful. Life can suck.
Mm-hmm.
And, not just for people with disabilities, but for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Life will suck.
Mm-hmm.
And until Jesus returns, it's never going to change like that. It's always going to be horrible. It's always going to hurt and hit a lot of people. But if you stop and you let that get you down, and you let that rain of pain just pour on you, then you'll never get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep walking and you keep moving forward, then you will get somewhere. You don't know where you'll get, but you'll be somewhere, and that's better than being nowhere.
Exactly. So is there anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
Well, well, I probably want to thank you for having me on. I've looked forward to this, really, and I'm really sorry if like it seemed like I wasn't getting your emails, because I suck at reading emails. You can ask anybody who knows me. I suck at reading emails. Like, so whenever anybody like starts emailing me, I just give them my phone number, and I'm like, it's faster because I'm more likely to read that than an email.
Yeah.
Because there have been a lot. My mom like gets so angry at me because there'll even be times where I'll just get an email and I won't even pay attention to it. So, so I really hope it didn't seem like I was ignoring those because I really wasn't. I'm just really bad at reading emails.
No, you're fine. And I'm the same way because I mean, I work full time and then I have all of her stuff and then we have this. So
I have to use speech to text and sometimes it says bad words. Like it literally said the SH word and then track on an assignment. I'm like, sorry, don't spend me.
you're funny.
Sometimes I hate it.
Yeah, sometimes speech to text isn't always reliable. But there's times where it'll be a while before I get back to somebody too. And I'm like, please don't feel, don't get offended or get mad or think that I forgot about you. I'm like, because I haven't. It's just I haven't had a minute to sit down or breathe.
Yeah.
So, but this is we started this because I just feel it's important to have people on and talk about their struggles and share how they got through them and hope to help, the people that are going through it because we've already walked it, So we're helping others and we're also sharing different resources out there for people and just to kind of spread awareness. And look, you guys just want to do and be like everybody else. You may need a little extra time or help, but you can do it. There's nothing stopping you, I want to thank you for taking the time and being on the show. Thank you for joining us as we spread awareness through our personal stories and the many resources shared. You can help us by joining our village simply by sharing our show to the masses. If you would like to support the Guilbault Girls on another level, click on the link in the show notes to make a donation in any amount. Add your address and you'll receive a hand-stamped token with the word village on it in appreciation. Be sure to subscribe to our Guilbault Girls podcast and YouTube show, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Guilbault Girls. Till next time.